Hi everyone, this is Julie with Beadaholique, and I'm going to show you how to weave in your loom tails for your add-on threads that you have to add as you're doing your loom work. So here's a piece I created as a little Christmas holiday bracelet, and you see that throughout I had to keep adding thread. I'm only comfortable working with about 5 to 6 feet of thread at a time, otherwise I find it becomes quite tangled. What that does mean is I have to constantly be adding more thread. Now we do have a whole video showing you how to add more thread to your loom work. So if you don't know how to do that, check out our other videos. But I specifically want to show you how to tie off your threads here. So I'm going to show you that in this video. What you're going to be doing is you are going to be transitioning from your loom needle to a regular needle. To do this is much easier to do that. I'm going to use a tulip size 11 needle. Now it is possible to do this with the loom needle. I will say that I just find it easier. And if you're doing a lot of loom work, it's worth getting a different needle, or just, a lot of us do a lot of different types of beadwork. So you usually have these needles on hand. So we're going to go ahead here and look at this, pick a tail, and I'm just going to pick one of these center ones. I'm going to put the other ones off to the side. This is 1G thread that I've used, so it's quite thin and flexible. And I'm just going to go ahead and thread my needle onto one end of this, like so, and just so I have enough of a tail that it doesn't slip out. Now, I want to go, if you see that this thread is on this side, I want to weave it this way. If you see a thread is this way, on this side, I want to weave it this way, because when you add more thread, you always have the tail left over from the one that you stopped, and then you have the tail from the one that you started. So basically we're wanting to cross them in this direction, make them crisscross just for added security of your design. So that is what we're going to do. So I'm just going to take my needle with my thread on it, reposition this, hold this tail kind of out of the way. And what I want to do, and because these beads are already secure, I'm not worrying about going under or over my main threads like you do when you're originally doing it, but I am just going to run this needle with the thread on it all the way through the row of beads that is one over from where the tail exited. Okay, so I'm just going to do that, pull it through, and now what I want to do is I want to go back down through the next row, and this is why you always leave a nice sized tail on your loom work ends, because you want to be able to go through a couple times. Okay, so there we go. We've gone now through 2 rows, and now we're going to go up through the next row. But we're not going to go all the way through. We're going to come out after a few beads. And that's at your discretion. It can be 2 beads, it could be 5 beads or 10 beads, whatever you want it to be. Basically, you're just coming up through the middle at one section. Okay, so just go ahead and pull it all the way. So you're just poking through that midsection. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take your needle and you're just going to go under a thread bridge right here. So if you can see that, I'm just pulling up that little thread bridge and going under it very carefully and making a little loop. And now I'm going to go through that loop and pull and make a little knot. Now I feel like I have enough space right here where I can make a second little knot in the same spot. So I'm just going to do the exact same thing in that same spot. And this is when it really helps to have the smaller needle. It just can be kind of awkward when you're dealing with a nice long loom needle, which of course you need when you're looming. But when you're no longer worrying about catching those beads appropriately on the strand, then it is nice to switch to a regular needle. Okay, so I did 2 little knots right now. Now I'm going to go back through the next bead that would have been in the row. So you see here's my knot and where I exited. Now I'm just going to go through the next bead, and I'm going to go through several of them. So I pop up midway through again and pull. And the hope is that you kind of pull that knot into your beads, and just kind of tuck it away. Now at this spot, I'm going to do it again. Just going to go under the little bridge, thread bridge, make a little loop, and go through my little loop. Now up to you if you want to do that double knot or a single. As you know, when thread gets knotted, it's really hard to come undone, which is kind of what you want at this point. You want it to be hard to come undone. So I think I'm going to be okay with that one just being a single knot. And then you just want to make sure that you go through the next bead that you would have gone through if you didn't poke back up. So now we're going to go through again and pull. So I've technically got 3 knots in there. Now I don't like to ever end my thread on the side. So I'm going to go down through here again, the next row over, and pull. And I think I'll try for one more little knot. So these ones we're not working with. I know they're in the view here, but we're not working with those. Just making that nice little loop, pulling it down. There's a nice little knot on there. And now let's just go through a couple more beads. And pull. And now that I'm in that center area, I'm just going to pull my thread back, hold it pretty tight, line my scissors up, and snip. And now that thread just disappears. So we did about 4 knots. I always do like to make sure that at least one of them is that double knot, but then the other knot, it's okay if they're singles or doubles. Just you always want to make sure that it looks nice and smooth and flat. So you don't want to make too many big knots, but you can't see where the thread was and you can't see the knots anymore. So that's what I wanted. So now what I'll do is I'll go back on all of these extra ones here and do the exact same thing. So this one now is going to go this way. Another reason why you crisscross is because if this one was going to go in the same direction that the last one was in, I'm going to start hitting my knots and it's going to be hard to go through my beads. But if I go the other direction, this is clear. So there aren't any knots here to hit. So that's another reason why you do want to make sure that you crisscross. It adds security and it also makes it a lot easier. Now again, if you do want to know how to take this off the loom, you see what it looks like on the back. You want to know how to take it off the loom, tie these off, add a clasp. You want to know how to set up your loom. You want to know how to actually do the loom work. We have videos for all of that over at beadaholique.com. There's a ton of videos. It teaches you step by step. We even had from start to finish videos. So please do check those out if you want to know any of the other techniques. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this, and this pattern will also be at beadaholique.com.